Welcome all you listeners to the Our Story podcast. Revelation 12:11, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. I am your host, Spencer Keroff. I will be setting out to encourage other believers by publicizing Christians' testimonies for the world to hear. Welcome to the show. In today's episode, I will be interviewing a man who has had a great influence in my life, my pastor and father, Pastor Spencer Keroff. Well, Dad, tell us a little bit about what led up to your eventual salvation.
Oh, wow. So I grew up in church. We went to church every Sunday, went to Sunday school every Sunday. I was baptized as a baby, Presbyterian, went to a Lutheran church for a year, grew up Methodist, but I didn't know Jesus. I was a religious pagan. I was confirmed in the 8th grade, went through a lot of ritual, tradition, served in church, but I really didn't understand what having a personal relationship with Jesus was all about. My oldest brother, Steve, went away to Mankato State University, and he came home in the spring of 1985 and announced to our family that he was a born-again Christian. I had no idea what that was. I didn't know if he was going to join a cult. I didn't know if he was going to shave his head and sell flowers at the airport. I had no idea. But he had given his life to the Lord through a campus ministry called Navigators. And he sat me down one day and began to witness to me about the gospel, about Jesus. And man, my eyes were opened. So, I could tell you more about that if you want me to, or if you have any more specific questions that kind of led up to that.
So, you mentioned your brother ministering to you. What exactly did that look like when he approached you the first time?
Yeah. He asked me some questions. He asked me if I thought I was perfect, and I said no. I would find out later that these are some of the ways that even campus ministry navigators used for him. They actually use another analogy called the bridge that we could talk about some other time. But asked me if I was perfect. I said no. He asked me if I thought God was perfect. I said yes. He asked me if I thought heaven was perfect. I said yes. And then he said, well, then how do you think that you, as an imperfect being, will enter into the sight of somebody who is perfect, God, into his kingdom, which is perfect, heaven, without making that kingdom imperfect? In other words, the second you show up, you're going to taint the atmosphere. And man, that was a heavy question for a 13-year-old. And then he said, well, let me ask you this. If you were to die today and God said, why should I let you into my heaven? What would you say? And I said, well, because I believe in him. And he said, well, Satan and his demons believe in Jesus. They're not going to heaven. And I was like, oh man, because I love him. And then he looked at me and he said, well, how is your life proving that? And even though I was from a good family, I was from all practical purposes, good kid, Midwestern town, I was starting to get involved in peer pressure, starting to experiment with things. And so great question for me. And that began the quest. And yet now I can look back and I realize it wasn't just that witnessing time, that God had sent other messengers before that, other seeds planted. And, but out of my brother's witnessing, he encouraged me to go to a Christian rock concert a few months later. And man, that was when everything changed.
Yeah. So you mentioned other people witnessing to you. If you could sit down with those people today who may have had no idea if any of what they were doing, any of their pouring into you would have any effect, if you could sit down with them today, what would you tell them?
Oh man, I can't wait to see them in heaven and thank them. I'm praying that they finish well and that I will get to see them, because there was that family that lived up the street and around the corner. Halfway down that block, there was a family. I don't even remember their names. There was a mom, dad, brother, sister. I used to play with the kids. And on their screened-in sun porch was a picture of the rapture. And if people don't know what the rapture is, that's the time that Jesus comes back to get his church. And in this picture, people were floating up to meet Jesus in the air. And the symbolism was that because of that, like cars became driverless, planes became driverless. So like you had plane crash and cars crash. I'm like, what is that? And like, oh, that's the rapture. Now, again, I had no idea what the rapture was, but that planted a seed. I probably was 7. And then there was a lady up the street. We moved from our house to an apartment building, and she was down the hall. And I remember her praying with me to receive Jesus in my heart, but I didn't understand what I was doing. And then there was a youth event I went to, Teens for Christ event. Roger Secchi was the speaker, and I myself and another guy, we both came forward to pray to receive Christ. I still didn't understand what I was doing, but seeds were planted, definitely. Now, what's amazing is that other guy that came forward, I mean, he was a bully in high school. Like he was mean, intimidating. Now he's a follower of Jesus, and we're friends on Facebook. So again, seeds of the gospel, powerful.
Yeah. So how would you say, or what would you say would be the first true step you took to becoming a pastor after accepting Christ?
Yeah. So again, I got saved at that Christian rock concert, September 16th, 1985. I was planning on after that doing a double major in accounting and music. Loved both. I was good at math. There are certain kinds of math that I like better than others. But anyway, but as a junior in high school, the Lord spoke to my heart one day and said, the only reason you wanted to go into accounting is for the money. And the Lord was right. I had dreams of getting out of our dinky little town, shaking the dust off of that, going to New York or Chicago, seeing the world, working on the top floor of an office building, wearing power suits, power ties, driving a sports car, making lots of money for Jesus, of course, right? Yeah. And that was the day he spoke to my heart, and I felt like he called me into the ministry. And then out of that, there were other people that spoke into my life that saw the call on my life. Now, they didn't call me to ministry. Like my pastor didn't call me to ministry. But he definitely saw the call he saw what God was up to. And our youth leaders at that Wesleyan church, it was the church in town that was preaching the gospel. They saw what God was up to, and so opportunities came. Like I got to speak one night at youth group. I started a Bible study in my high school. I helped to organize See at the Pole. Eventually ended up at Bible college and preparing for ministry.
So what would you say would be the first time you ever felt true, intense spiritual warfare after becoming a Christian?
Well, I mean, there's different seasons of spiritual warfare, right? Like the night I got saved, 2 significant things happened. I got a great hunger for the Word of God, but I was also addicted to porn before I came to Christ. And so I had porn hidden under my mattress, and I knew that I needed to get rid of that. That part was easy, getting rid of the actual, and we're talking about back in the day when there were magazines, right? Now it's all available on the internet, so accessible. But then the warfare of what had been taken in the mind, and learning to renew your mind and think on things that are above, that's all part of warfare. But then when I went to Bible college that first year, I was a youth director at a Methodist church. And I had a girl in my youth group that was trying to get out of Satanism and was seeking help and seeking prayer. And as I began to help her, I began to get death threats at the Bible college through the mail. Freaked me out. Again, I'm from small town Northeast Iowa. Like, nothing crazy necessarily happens in that town. And so I remember, 3 days going by, and every twig that snapped, every whisper I heard on campus, I just, turning my head, freaking out. 3 days in, though, the Lord really spoke to my heart, and he said, hey, what's the worst thing that Satan can do to you? And I'm like, man, he could kill me. And I really felt like God just in his presence said, yeah, wouldn't you be in a far better place? I was like, oh yeah. And that just gave me a boost of confidence, but definitely warfare there. And there have been many times since that warfare has been intense.
Yeah. So just one more written down question. Obviously, questions can spiral from that, but if you could sit down and have a conversation with yourself from, let's say, 15 years ago, what would you say to yourself?
Oh, man. Well, earlier you asked what I would say to the people that planted seeds. I would say keep planting seeds, because you don't know. They don't know I'm a pastor today, right? And so I would want to encourage them that they're going to share in the reward of anything that I've been able to see happen. But for me, 15 years ago, so that would place me just below 40. For me, 40 was hard. Like, that was my hardest birthday ever. I don't ask me why. I was depressed all day. I would say to that would-be 40-year-old, hey, don't worry about 40. Take one day at a time. I would tell that guy 15 years ago, invest in your family more. We were told when our oldest was born, when Chloe was born, that, just enjoy every day. It's going to go quick. And I was like, yeah, right. And now I'm like, man, she's going to be 22. Where did the time go? I would want more time for just my wife and I, for Elise and I, because life is busy, ministry's busy, and to really be able to focus on that. And then I would tell, as a pastor, I would just say, man, you don't have to fix everything. One thing I've learned is I'm okay now with telling people if they need counseling. I will tell them, hey, I'm a pastor who loves people, but I'm not a trained counselor. And so I will refer them. And it used to be in ministry, I felt like, man, I have to be the hero. I have to help save the day. And I really don't. And that's not my role. Man, I want people to be free. And so if I'm not the one that can help in their story, somebody else can.
So, like, similar to Moses trying to minister to everyone all at once, and
yes,
being told, hey, you don't have to do this alone. You could bring up helpers.
Yep, exactly. And getting people that are gifted in different ways as part of the body of Christ, that's how we minister to one another, and freedom comes.
Well, I think that pretty much concludes the interview. Covered all of the main questions. So yeah, I'll thank you for your time.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity. It's great.
Yeah.